This is the first in a planned series of videos Medarchus is sponsoring on short educational topics of interest to the healthcare IT community. This video should get us thinking about what we can do soon to tackle one of the industry's most persistent problems. We are going to review 6 relatively new ideas in how to clean and keep clean the MPI data. Idea number 1, data quality audits. These steps might seem obvious, but they're not trivial. The very first thing we need to do is determine what we are going to audit. I suggest looking at things beyond a duplicate rate, but look at root causes for errors, such as missing information in data, missing guarantors. For example, discrepancies between information for insurance purposes. Self-pay is checked, but yet there is a policy number listed. The sample size is the next thing to consider, and that's really based on your MPI size as it is anything else. But a good rule of thumb is about 100 records is sufficient for a decent sized MPI, or if you have a smaller MPI system, about 1% of your data. Next, you need to determine the criteria for the record selection. For example, recent admissions or outpatients seen within 3 months. Gender and other demographic mixes that are representative of your population is really crucial to make sure your audit is reflective of all the data. Once you have that information, you gather the records, do your analysis, and then you can extrapolate your findings across the entire population with a certain degree of confidence. Quick idea number 2 is to build on your audit capabilities and automate data quality collection process. Fortunately, with automation, we can collect all the data in your MPI when we're looking for certain errors. Whereas an audit we're just sampling, with automation we can look at every single piece of data. And once we have every piece of data over a period of time, we can then conduct trending analysis, looking for greater insights into how our organization is performing in keeping the data clean. Quick idea number 3. Now we're going to build on idea 1 and idea 2, audits and automation. If we are collecting information about the MPI data quality, we can now start to clean it as we find the errors. It's a really simple concept, and I'm going to call this deep cleaning your MPI data. Most of the time we discuss cleaning, we're really only talking about merging duplicate records. But I want to suggest that this is much more fundamental, because we're looking at the root causes of why duplicates were created in the first place. Things like fixing errors in the addresses, fixing errors in the spelling or punctuation in names, hyphenated names in particular. Spot checking duplicate social security numbers, for example, to understand why more than one record has the same social. Another thing I like to suggest while we're doing deep cleaning is to connect family member records in the MPI so we can avoid problems with overlay records, because family names often tend to be very similar. Quick idea number 4, I've spoken about many times, but I'm going to make it very short here, and it's about using modern search to prevent the errors from getting into your system in the first place. So how many of us, let's say by way of virtual hands, how many of us have taken the class on how to use Google search? Take your time, I'll wait. I don't see any hands raised yet. What? No one has taken a class on how to use Google? Are you kidding me? Google is a modern search tool, and it's just supposed to work, even when the data is bad underneath, when there's spelling errors in what we type, or when there's errors on the pages we're looking for. And believe it or not, that's the exact problem we face in healthcare searches, looking for patients. Errors in the MPI, or errors in the criteria for which we're searching. So briefly, modern search characteristics should be that it's easy to use, number one, just like Google. We shouldn't have to learn how to use a tool in order to capture its power. That's the hallmark of modern search. Let the technology work for us, not have us work for the technology. Modern search must work with fault tolerance. That means that we have to be able to find records even when there's a high amount of errors in the MPI data or the search criteria. Even when the data is a mess and it has many errors that we miss because we did not deep clean the MPI data well enough, we still have to find the record. Modern search, like Google and other internet search tools, Bing and others, use math instead of text to match what you're looking for. Modern search is directly applicable to what we do in healthcare, and we need to move towards that direction. Point number 5, and again, we're building on all these concepts. We can now virtually eliminate the cost of cleaning duplicate records in bulk. Let's unpack that. We have laid the groundwork for identifying potential errors in the MPI, data audits, data cleaning, data quality, deep cleaning, modern search. So now every time we search for a patient, we should be able to display the fact that there are patients that have similar medical records. And in this way, we are doing the cleaning on demand before the patient presents, so we can link those records that need to be linked and not wait until we're doing the EHR implementation 4 or 5 years later after the fact of the patient visits. The last quick idea is something that one of my customers and I had jammed together and thought about, and she was brilliant for leading me to this path. And that is, maybe we can set up 2-stage registration processes. A 2-stage registration process would help us prevent duplicate records by doing a quality check on all new registrations to ensure the patient does not already have a medical record in the MPI. So let's consider. Many providers have at least one department or external organization that consistently generates high error rates. One children's hospital we know of had over 80 registration points, and the bulk of the MPI errors actually came from those physician practices. The HIM department and patient access departments do not have the ability to control the quality of the data entry from the physician practices. Many hospitals have affiliated clinics or remote clinics that enter data into the EHR. There are even county hospitals that serve jail populations, and often the patients are registered from the jail. Data quality from these sources often has more problems as a percentage than data quality from within the patient access inside the hospital. Most patient access personnel and departments have direct access to your EHR currently, and the patient record is entered directly into the EHR without any validation if the patient record exists or not. It's a good idea for certain departments, internal or external, jailhouses or physician practices alike. It might be a good idea if we can check their work through a QA process. And this is what we call the 2-stage registration. Using a modern search function as described earlier, or even a record matching system you might already have, we can determine if the record exists in the EHR before a new registration is complete. If the record checks out, we let the registration proceed. If it's a duplicate, then we reject the record and put it into a queue for further review. A 2-stage registration process built on modern search that's fault tolerant, that can find records that match despite a lot of differences in the records, is the key to successfully implementing a 2-stage registration process. So that's it. 6 semi-new ideas about how to keep your MPI data clean. Instead of cleaning the data after the fact, we're talking about being much more proactive and letting technology work for us. I recommend following us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, Instagram even. So please reach out to us if you have any questions at all or want to share some new ideas of your own on how to keep MPI data clean. We post new content on occasion, trying to share ideas and concepts, and would love your feedback. And I'm so glad you spent some time watching the video.